Underage access to sex on today's Modern Day Leper with Ahmad Blakemore. Hello, Leper Nation, and how are you? And welcome back to another edition of Modern Day Leper with Ahmad Blakemore. So we have a situation in Texas where a pastor by the name of Alfonso Joseph was caught with his pants down having sex with a 15-year-old minor on a golf course. And I've seen various videos covering this situation. And it just strikes me as to how easy and how often these young people are allowed to be on adult dating sites. Grindr. What is the restrictions or the safety measures in place to keep minors off these sites? This site was supposed to be 18 and over, and yet you have a 15-year-old accessing the site. A 15-year-old who went out of his way to not only set up an account on that particular site, Grindr, but to engage in conversation with adults. When a person is motivated to do the things that they want to do, they're going to find a way to do those things. This young man at 15, not only did he access this adult site that he had no business being on, he set up an account and engaged in conversation. Not only did he engage in conversation, he gave someone his address and asked that person to come and pick him up. Yes, I'm covering this from a slightly different angle. I know that Alfonso Joseph is a full-grown man, and people will say he's a pedophile. He should have known better. But did he do something he should not have done in the process of accessing the site? Alfonso Joseph did what most adults do, and that's access a site and try to find a match for himself, whatever that match is. What is the consequence for minors accessing adult sites? Who's responsible for that? Is it the owner of the website, Grindr? Is it the young man's parents? What is the consequences for a 15-year-old who accesses an adult site, gives a complete stranger his address, and then leaves the house with that stranger with the intent to have sex with him? What are the consequences? Now, I know what statutory rape is. I know that Mr. Joseph is going to be charged. I know Mr. Joseph is going to be seen as a pedophile. I know Mr. Joseph is going to have to register. I know that Florida is one of the toughest states in America for sex offenders. Are there any consequences for the 15-year-old who accessed that site? Are there any consequences for the owner of that site who did not have security in order to keep that young man from accessing that site? What about his parents? Is there any responsibility for his parents for him leaving the house, giving information to a stranger, and then engaging in sexual acts with that stranger? Should he be now taken from his parents because he's a bad child, because he's a troubled child, because he's a troubled teen? Or is all the focus to be on Alfonso Joseph simply because this boy is 15 years old? Think about that. From the time this young man decided to access that website until the moment he got in Mr. Joseph's vehicle, he was in control. He was in control of the entire situation. Up until the time he got into that vehicle, he could have made a different choice, but he did not want to make a different choice. He made the choice that he intended to make, which was to have sex with an adult. That's what his intent was, to have sex with an adult. And he knows he can do this. Why? Simply by virtue of his age. Because he's 15 years old, he can do things and get away with it. There are no consequences for him. It's all going to be blamed on Mr. Joseph. I've watched this like 16 times, all these videos, and they say this man was a predator. Well, who started the predator process? The 15-year-old, when he lied to access that site, when he made an account on that site, when he told Mr. Joseph he was 18 years old and he was 15. Is that not predator behavior? Of course it is, but it doesn't count because he's 15. It's all overlooked. There is no punishment for him. He can do whatever he wants. There is nothing to happen to him or his parents, because we have Mr. Joseph, the pedophile. And he's going to pay. He's going to pay for the lies that the young man told. He's going to pay for the young man's access to that site and all of his intents to have sex. We got Mr. Joseph. That's good enough for us. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about how many times a day that this happens now. Think about how many stories now that we've heard, that we've seen, or underage people having access to adult websites and then having sex with an adult, and then the adult having to suffer the consequences. If it's illegal for an adult to have sex with a child, isn't it illegal for the child to pursue the adult? It's logic. Doesn't it make sense? Why are we allowing these children, 15-year-olds, to pursue adults without consequences? This is happening over and over and over again, and there are no consequences. Now, by no means am I saying that Mr. Joseph should be let off the hook for anything. What I am saying is he did not start this process with this young man. This young man did. And there should be some responsibility for this young man having taken this responsibility, having made these choices, having deceived people, having lied. And then going through with a process that someone else is having their life totally changed over while he gets to go home and do it all over again. What if this young man had committed a murder? What if this man had committed a robbery? Would we then be looking at he's only 15, or would we be trying him as an adult, Florida? If this same 15-year-old had committed a robbery, you'd be trying him as an adult. If he gets a gun and go out and shoot somebody, you'd be trying him as an adult. But when it comes to the sex crimes that they initiate, they're totally free to go, while somebody else has to pay the consequences for their actions. Are the parents responsible? Is the owner of the website responsible? Is this young man at 15 responsible because he's the one that gave his address away? He's the one that initiated this. He's the one that started it. He's the one that decided to go through with it. And he's the one that got in the car. Does he have any responsibility whatsoever? We really need to rethink what we're doing here, because this is happening too much. We need to stop giving young people access to sex and then brutally punishing the people that they come in contact with, giving them total immunity by virtue of their age. They have still made decisions. They still should suffer some consequence. Mr. Joseph is going to pay a powerful price for this, and he's going to take all the punishment for everybody in this particular case. I'm Ahmad Blakemore, the modern day leper. I appreciate you stopping by the channel. Subscribe to the channel, share the videos, and comment. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.